The Mustard Seed Media video podcast is sponsored and created by Mustard Seed Media, Inc., creating and developing media and web for tomorrow's Christian ministries. On the web at mustardseedmedia.com.
Okay, so let's open up Drupal.org and let's do a little CMS magic. Okay, so let's start with this Photoshop document here, and let's turn this thing into a website. Let's get right down to it and edit some CSS, shall we?
Welcome to episode 2 of the Mustard Seed Media video podcast, a podcast for web designers like you and like me. My name is Bob. I'm going to be your host today, and we're going to go through some things on jQuery and the Drupal content management system. jQuery, you can find at jQuery.com. It is a JavaScript library, which it enables us to do some really cool JavaScript stuff really simply. And the Drupal content management system we'll be talking about a lot here on the podcast. You can find that at Drupal.org. This topic today, jQuery and Drupal, was covered pretty extensively on our audio podcast. You can see if you go to episode 88 of the Geeks and God podcast at geeksandgod.com/episode 88. We took about an hour and covered what I'm going to do here just in a matter of minutes. But if you'd like to hear all the commentary and hear us talk through it, you can go to geeksandgod.com/episode 88. You can also make some comments over there on these methods that I'm about to show you. So in today's podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to take a Drupal 6 site. This is just the website that we used last time. We replaced this image in the last episode, in episode 1. But what we're going to do today is we're going to show you basically how to integrate Drupal and jQuery together, how we're going to use jQuery in Drupal, show you the couple steps that you have to do. We're going to start actually with a Drupal 5 method. You'll notice that I'm actually running a Drupal 6 site here, but I'm going to show you how to do this in Drupal 5. One of the exceptions you have to sort of know first if you're dealing with Drupal 5. So the very first thing we have to do, if we look at our site here, the very first thing we have to do is get our external JavaScript file to actually load in Drupal. So Drupal knows it's there and everything's all good to go. You're going to notice if you look at your page.tpl file, this Drupal variable here called scripts, what we want to do is we want to get our JavaScript file to load into the scripts variable so it loads with all of our other scripts. That's going to be the first step that we're going to do here today. And you're going to do that in your template.php file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my site theme. I'm just using Zen. You can use sort of whatever you want. And if your theme, if you're kind of creating a theme from scratch, you will not have a template.php yet. You'll need to create one. But since I'm using Zen, there's already one in here. So I'm just going to be adding some stuff to it. Now again, this is necessary for Drupal 5, or if you are going to use another file besides one called script.js. In Drupal 6, Drupal 6 automatically recognizes a file in your theme folder called script.js, just like it recognizes style.css. But if you're in Drupal 5, or if you want to name your file something else, you're just going to go into your template.php file, and you're going to do a Drupal add.js. Now I'm going to do put mine in my theme folder. So I'm just using Drupal's path to theme. And let's call our file sweetscripts.js. And so with this simple command, all we did is we told Drupal, hey, go find sweetscripts.js in my theme folder and add it to that scripts variable. So now if we save this and we refresh our page, you should have Firebug installed to be able to view this stuff really simple. Go to getfirebug.com, and it's a Firefox browser add-on that does all this stuff here. But anyway, we're going to look in our head of this page now. And if we scroll all the way down, we will see now that sweetscripts.js has been included. That's a good thing. So now what we could do is we could just go ahead and create a new file, save it, call it sweetscripts.js, and save it. And it is now included. That's a Drupal 5 method for including the file. But because we're using Drupal 6, we're not even going to do that. I'm going to go back to my template.php, and I'm going to delete this. And I'm never even going to open my template.php otherwise. Instead, you'll notice if we look at our head again, Actually, I'll refresh just so you can see after I change our template.php. If I scroll down here, you'll see that it is including something called script.js that's in our theme folder by default. Now, that script isn't even there, but Drupal's going to try and load it just in case you've created it. So all we're going to do in Drupal 6 is we're going to take our text editor or whatever you're using, create a new file called script.js. We're going to save it into our theme folder. Oh, apparently there's already one in there from before, but there is not one normally. I had been doing some testing before. So now we have this file, and Drupal 6 is automatically going to recognize that file without us doing anything in our template.php. So that's a good thing. So now I'm just going to show you a little simple usage of jQuery. This is going to be just a real basic thing. I am not a JavaScript guy. So go ahead and critique my JavaScriptness if you are a JavaScript person. But I just wanted to show something, just to show some kind of cool stuff you can do with jQuery here. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is a Drupal-specific thing, is we're going to call something called if Drupal JS enabled. Now, what this does is this is sort of a Drupal thing that is saying, let's make sure through the Drupal system that your JavaScript can run. You have the right version. Everything's good to go. This will check that to make sure JavaScript is all okay on your site. After that, we're going to do a standard document ready. Just like you would otherwise in jQuery. And now we're good to go. Now basically we can take any scripts we want and put them in here. I'm going to do one real quick. That what we're going to do on our main navigation menu here is we're going to make it so when we roll over this administer link, all these menu items drop down, and when we roll off it, they go away. So that's what we're going to do. First thing I have to know in jQuery is what the different names of my CSS classes are here. You can see that sort of my layout is I've got block user 1, which is an ID. Inside that, I've got a UL class menu. That menu is expanded, and then inside that expansion, I've got another UL class menu. So I sort of have to take note of those just to see where I'm at, what I'm going to do. So the very first thing I want to do when my page loads is I want to hide this because I'm going to show it only on rollover. So let's go back to our JavaScript here. And so the very first thing I'm going to do, I have these class names all copied. Let me copy them real quick so I don't spend a lot of time typing. So that's my my original menu. That's sort of the sub menu that I want to hide. So I'm just going to do a hide on page load. Now if I save this and I refresh, you'll now see that that is hidden on page load. You'll also notice it's already, or it's still in our HTML, but it's not showing on the screen. That's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create that rollover situation. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to get rid of the submenu part. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, hey, on hover for this item, I want to show the submenu. So I'm going to do something that looks a little bit like this. So I'm saying, okay, on hover, do this function. And what I want to do on hover is to show this menu. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to show this using a show, and I'm going to set it to slow. Now what's really nice is the hover function actually has two arguments. The first one is what happens when you roll over it. The second one's what happens when you hover off of it. So that's all nice and built into jQuery. So now we're going to set up our function of what happens when we roll off. And we're going to target this same thing again. And we're going to say when we roll off, hide that slow. Okay, and if we save this, in theory, Everything should work as expected. It did not. I must have broke something. Let's go back and look at our code again. What did I do here? Oh, looks like I missed a quote mark. Oops, that's the wrong page. Okay, now if we hover over, we'll see that it shows. And if we hover off, it goes away. So nice little simple JavaScript thing we can do in Drupal. Really what I wanted to show today was if you're using Drupal 5, how to add that script or that Drupal add.js in your template.php. If you're using 6, you can use the script.js file by default, and Drupal just recognizes it. And I also wanted to show this Drupal JS enabled, just to check to make sure your JavaScript's all set to go. So a very simple script in Drupal to do something kind of cool. Don't forget to visit us at my other podcast at geeksandgod.com. Big community over there. You can chat with some people, lots of Drupal people, HTML, CSS people. And go over and listen to that podcast as well. Thanks for checking out this video podcast. We'll see you next week.